Hey Watch fam, I hope you're all really well. So today I'm going to be doing the video on my results in terms of my comparison for the pre-ceramic subs, the pre-ceramic no date and the pre-ceramic date, the Submariners. For anyone new to the channel, man, this is a weird channel. It's just me going or speaking loud in terms of what I think about watches, the watches I buy, the watches I sell, the watches I get rid of, the watches I get itches for, etc. Instagram handle is steelmoon_watches. What am I wearing today? I've got the SD4K on, and that's looking pretty sharp. It's looking pretty sharp. I've been missing this bad boy recently, and I just wanted to wear it. I think the SD4K it's just got the right thickness. It's thicker, yes, but with purpose rather than the SD50 that's just a lot bigger. It's just thicker with purpose, more presence, clean dial, lovely proportions. I don't have the subs with me today because why would I bring a bunch of watches with me to work? But I'm going to give you the results of the one that I'm going to be keeping as my daily and the one I'll probably be selling or flipping, and the reasons behind it. So first things first, I've had a sub no date for a while in any guise, either in the ceramic, pre-ceramic. I've had it before. I like a clean dial, it looks really nice, but I just really like pre-ceramic stuff these days. I enjoy it. It's very low key, it's under the radar. It's not blingy. It's kind of the sweet spot where Rolex were at, I think, and mostly in terms of proportions. I think the ceramic thing obviously doesn't bother me massively because this thing's so beautifully in proportion. But obviously, I have a sub no date, and I was missing the date function. I really wanted a date function. I messed up a day a few weeks back. Had I had a watch with a date, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So I always assumed that a sub date was basically a sub no date with a date bubble. That was it. In terms of the pre-ceramic era, I thought that was the only difference. But they're actually really different watches, the pre-ceramic Submariners. They're really different watches, stemming from the bracelet, case size, dial size, thickness. They kind of wear really differently, and I was really surprised by this. I just thought it was going to be a simple lift and shift over to the sub date and be done with it. So it took me some time to sort of get used to that. I just got so used to the sub no date being so silky comfortable, never noticing the watch, nothing like that. So I pulled the trigger on a sub date. I thought, yeah, I want to upgrade this sub no date. I want to upgrade it to a date, and I'm going to be done. I was 100% sure that I was going to sell the no date and just be a sub date pre-ceramic guy. So the result basically is that the sub date and me did not gel. We just didn't really gel. I don't know what it was. I think that the initial first few days I was wearing the sub date. I just had an itch to keep returning to the sub no date. I just thought, I'll put it on for an hour. And every time I put it on, I just felt a sense of relief, like, this is amazing. This is how it should be. The bracelet is different. I think maybe the solid end links versus hollow end links give me a different fit. Long story short, I don't get the same fit in terms of bracelet with the sub date as I do with a no date. I don't get the same fit. I think the sub date wears, the best I got, it wears plus or minus a quarter of a link. And that plus or minus a quarter of a link for me, for some reason, makes quite a difference, maybe up to half a link. I've played around with the adjustments, played around with a lot, but having a look at the hollow end links and solid end links and how they both kind of compare, I just get that flatter, more precise fit with the no date. I really do. And another thing about my sub date, which was different compared to my no date, was the text on the dial isn't as white as the text on the dial on the no date. It's not as white, and I kind of missed that. It was a little bit more dull. I know different years produce different dial fonts or different, dial brightness. Clearly, I was kind of missing that, and the no date just seems to slot into my life so easily. It really does so easily. The weight difference and the size difference, I'd get used to it either way. It doesn't really bother me that much. But for me, it was kind of the bracelet. The bracelet fit wasn't as good as the no date fit. Look, the no date, it hasn't got an amazing bracelet. I'll be honest with you. It's not an amazing bracelet when you compare it to more modern bracelets. It really isn't. But it's good enough. It will do the job really well. It's easy to get sort of bogged down with the whole, the newest bracelets are so much better. They're better, but do they need to be? For some, yeah. I mean, listen, it's a really personal and individual thing, right? It's a really personal thing. For me, what I prioritize these days is fit, and I just like the look. I think also what I noticed is that the no date, the knurling on the bezel, the sort of jagged parts around the bezel, they're a little bit more hardcore. They're a little bit more prominent compared to the sub date. Just a little bit more prominent, and it just makes the watch a little bit cooler. I was inundated. Quite a few messages I got on Instagram just with this whole sub date versus no date thing, and everyone was putting forward such good, interesting points for both watches. Some people went ahead and bought a no date. Some people saying, yep, finally you need that date. And ideally I would like a date. But also what I noticed, my eye was just drawn to the Cyclops in the first milliseconds of wearing the sub date. It was always drawn to the Cyclops. It was always, okay, look at the Cyclops and then the time. And I think that's just why I just think I prefer watches with no Cyclops. If I was to have a Cyclops, which I'm fine with the Cyclops, but as on another watch, I think I'd want it on a GMT. I think on a GMT it just makes a little bit more sense. A GMT adds more time, date, functionality over a sub date. Sub date for me is a bit of a raw watch. It's a raw time only watch with a bezel to measure time for diving or whatever you might be doing, cooking eggs, boiling eggs, realistically in this day and age. But that's the essence of a sub, I think. At least just not the Cyclops. I don't need it. The date function on the SD4K, love it. I love having it, but you see, my eyes enjoy the entire dial as soon as I look at it. Like literally as soon as I look at it, my eyes enjoy the entire dial of this watch. And the Cyclops doesn't really get in the way. So I think those are the results of the pre-ceramic sub date versus no date. The sub date, it's just beautiful. I was 90% sure that the sub date was going to be replacing the no date. I was 90% sure. And in the subsequent days after my video where I announced that there was going to be a comparison, probably within about 2 or 3 days I knew that the no date was going to be comfortably staying in the collection as my daily, and it still gets most of my wrist time. I do a lot of desk diving, messing around, and the no date is just there, and it takes the beating so well. I mean, I've hit that watch a few times here and there on stupid things, mainly opening doors or swiping your key card to go somewhere, leave somewhere, getting out of the car, brushing it against the car when you're in a tight parking spot. It's already got marks on it. I'm fine with it. Also, an interesting thing about the pre-ceramic sub no date that I love so much, my one. I don't know how I didn't realize. I mean, this is actually a stupid thing, and people will say, well, why would you realize? But this is like a sad watch person's thing at times. In the serial number, it actually has my my birth date backwards. Caveat, backwards. But it's still there. It's backwards. Backwards, it's my birthday. And the entire year, month, day, everything. So even if I was to one day pass that watch down to my kid, I like the fact that I can say, listen, you know, every time you see that serial number below 6 and you read it backwards, there's Dad's birth date there, you know. Only she may know that, no one else will, but I like that. I really like that. I'm not a massive serial number guy, but you always have a little look. Maybe there's a funky number in there, or a funky combination. So listen guys, if you're in the market for a no date or a sub date, you know, it's a personal thing. For me, the no date on paper, let's make this brighter. The no date on paper is of course maybe not as good, but I think the essence is in the charm for the sub no date. The charm of that watch, I've been charmed. I've really been charmed by that watch. So simple. The little bracelet rattle that I kind of miss at the moment. Time only, no Cyclops getting in my way. Another thing about the pre-ceramic subs, or the pre-ceramic Cyclops in general, I find that they're really shiny, way more shiny than newer stuff. So sometimes, on top of having a Cyclops, which is okay, you've got that extra shine, glimmer. It's a little bit annoying, it's a bit frustrating. But that's all I can really say on those watches. The sub date is in literally NOS condition, bar a few hairlines on the side somewhere. It's literally in NOS, new old stock condition, 2008. A lovely watch. I was just sure it was going to be displacing the sub no date. I was so sure it was going to displace the no date, and it just didn't. It just didn't. I think it's going to have to be the sub no date and maybe a pre-ceramic GMT for me, if I'm going to go that way. That's a nice collection for me to sort of have. I don't have a massive collection. I really don't. Like, people always ask me for state of the collection stuff, you know, assuming that there's going to be like a table of watches. It's nothing like that. I stay out of it now. A few watches for me, simple stuff does the job. So guys, let me know your opinion, your feedback in the comment section. I'll be curious to see what you thought of this whole comparison. You know, like I say, the white text wasn't so white on the sub date, and it was duller. The dial felt larger and darker because of it, and I don't know, I just got used to the no date being the way it is. You know, it's just a perfect watch. It really is a perfect watch. And I think ceramic sub dates versus no dates, that's a different comparison really, because the Cyclops isn't as it's not as shiny, and also they're pretty much identical watches other than having a Cyclops and a date. And the pre-ceramic subs both are really different watches. Size, fit, feel. The next step might be to compare a hollow end link sub date to the no date. I suspect it might give me the bracelet fit I'm after, but honestly speaking, I just don't think I've got the bandwidth for that. And there is one available. But to be running around chasing this, I just think I'm okay where I am. And I'll just learn to spot the date better and more frequently, and just deal with it. So guys, again, let me know your comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great week. Bye.